They hit me with a $47,500 safety compliance lawsuit because my wheelchair ramp wasn't built to code. I've built launch pads for the Marines in Afghanistan. I've reinforced airstrips in the middle of Category 4 hurricanes. But apparently, my front yard ramp was a threat to the community. I'm Mark, retired Army Corps of Engineers. 17 years in the service, and all I wanted after my knees gave out was peace. My wife and I bought this house in a small, HOA-run neighborhood in Virginia. We liked the quiet. The kind of place where the loudest sound was a screen door creaking in the wind. First red flag. The HOA president, Sandra, welcoming me by handing over a 78-page covenant booklet, with a highlighted section on structural alterations. 2 weeks later, I got my first citation. Bright yellow slip taped to my door, ramp installation without prior approval. I called the number. Sandra speaking. I'm a disabled vet. The VA installed it. She didn't miss a beat. That ramp is a liability to our property values. Her voice was like cold steel. That night, I caught her walking around my front yard with a flashlight, jotting notes. 3 days later, I learned I wasn't the only target. My neighbor, Ed, Vietnam vet, double Purple Heart, had been fined $600 for a flagpole that was too tall. At the HOA meeting, Sandra leaned in and whispered to another board member. They stopped talking when I approached. Then she read aloud, community concern regarding non-compliant structures spreading. The words hit me like shrapnel. She was building a case against me and anyone siding with me. Knowledge nugget number 1. In most U.S. states, HOAs can't override federal ADA requirements for disability access, but they bank on you not knowing that. It got worse. An anonymous flyer started showing up in mailboxes. Mark's ramp equals higher insurance rates. Ask your board why. Someone had photoshopped my ramp to look like it was collapsing. At the next board meeting, Sandra announced a closed-door executive session about structural hazards. When I asked to attend, she smirked. This isn't for owners. This is for leaders. And then I caught it, the smirk wasn't for me. She was looking past me at a man in the corner. Tall, silver hair, expensive suit. Not a resident. I did some digging. His name was Alan Price. A construction contractor, and Sandra's brother-in-law. He'd been quietly awarded every repair job in the neighborhood for the last 5 years. Now I understood. If they declared my ramp unsafe, Alan would bill the HOA to replace it, at triple cost. Multiply that by dozens of other repairs, and we were talking 6 figures in padded invoices. The next blow came wrapped in legalese. Certified letter, I had 14 days to remove the hazardous structure or face daily fines. But the real kicker? The HOA had filed an insurance claim stating they owned my ramp. That's not just shady, it's fraud. Knowledge nugget number 2. If an HOA claims ownership of something on your deeded property, you can demand a copy of the plat map and recorded CCRs to prove jurisdiction. They usually won't provide it, because they can't. I knew what to do. I'd fought insurgents with less subtlety than Sandra. So I opened a file, printed every letter, every flyer, every photo. Then I pulled my old laptop out of storage and wrote a 27-page complaint to the Virginia Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division. Meanwhile, I filed an ADA discrimination complaint with the DOJ. I even got a retired Marine lawyer, pro bono. But the real hammer came from the Department of Veterans Affairs, which confirmed they'd installed my ramp under federal contract, making it untouchable by local codes. Screenshot this clause and tag a friend who needs HOA armor. Under Title III of the ADA, any structure provided as a reasonable accommodation for disability cannot be altered or removed by a homeowners association without federal court approval. The weeks that followed felt like a war montage in slow motion. Neighbors who'd been quiet started sliding envelopes under my door, copies of their own HOA harassment letters. Ed brought coffee and printed minutes from meetings the board thought they'd destroyed. One of Sandra's own board members switched sides, handing me emails between her and Alan discussing inflated bids. The showdown came on a humid Thursday afternoon. We were in county court. Sandra sat at the plaintiff's table, Alan behind her, arms crossed. My lawyer slid a single sheet across the table. It was the VA's installation order, signed, sealed, federal. The judge looked up. "Mrs. Langford, you have no jurisdiction over this ramp." Sandra opened her mouth, but my lawyer wasn't done. He held up the email chain. The room went quiet except for the faint clang of the judge's gavel. Case dismissed. Counterclaim granted. Knowledge nugget number 3. If an HOA engages in fraudulent billing or self-dealing with relatives, it can trigger not just civil liability but state criminal investigation for public corruption, yes, even for private boards. Sandra resigned within the week. Alan's contractor license was suspended pending investigation. The fines they tried to saddle me with returned, with interest. We used the settlement money to set up a small grant for disabled vets in the neighborhood. Even the flagpole rule got overturned. But peace never lasts. 2 months later, I found an unmarked envelope in my mailbox. Inside, a single key, and a note in block letters. You don't know the half of it. Next week, the city that tried to steal a solar farm. Ask ChatGPT.